I'm Leye Adenle, author of Easy Motion Tourist. It's a crime thriller set in Lagos. It's also been published in French as Lagos Lady, and it's just about to be published in Spain, and we don't have a title yet.
Okay. And what's the story of Easy Motion Tourist?
It's about Amaka. Amaka is a Nigerian woman who runs a charity that watches out for sex workers. That's what she does officially. Unofficially, she keeps a record of the men in Lagos who use prostitutes. She keeps it so that she can protect the girls. So when a girl is about to go with a man she's never been with before, she can, send the man's car plate number to Amaka, and Amaka can check her records for what, if any, information she has on the man. And this way, she's able to say to them, it tends to be a bit rough, or you can charge him this much, or he likes to take two girls, so go with a friend so you're not alone with him, with a stranger. But more importantly, she can say to them, don't go, because there are men on her records who girls have gone with and they've never been seen anymore.
Yeah.
Her biggest fear is the day a girl will turn up dead because she didn't want them. The book starts on that day.
And how did this idea come to you?
Well, it was a conversation, a discussion I had with my mother and two of my siblings, two of my brothers. Anytime the four of us get together, we talk about everything from UFOs to police brutality to education to my mother's idea to regate the entire north of Nigeria. She even has drawings that she submitted to government. She used to be, she's retired now, she used to be Director General Education, Director General Women's Affairs. And these things, I think, have affected her and her outlook and the things she's interested in. She's particularly interested in the welfare of women in Nigeria, as well as education. And on this particular day, I'm not sure what we were talking about or what led to it, but we ended up talking about the frequency of dead bodies showing up on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And for some reason, these bodies tend to be women, and they're usually naked. And the assumption by everybody is that they're prostitutes. And it's almost like, well, they're prostitutes, who cares? We were debating legalizing prostitution, or at least decriminalising it, as a possible way to protect these women from this. Because obviously, people thought, you can do anything you want with prostitutes and nothing's going to happen to you. Whereas if these girls were protected by law, if they had to register the fact that they're prostitutes, if they were only allowed to work in certain areas that are controlled, then there'll be protection for them. That's where the original idea came from. I went back home that evening and I started writing, and I did not stop writing a chapter a day until the original first manuscript was done.
And this is a topic that you've been interested in for some time, isn't it? Because you are also the author of the serial blog Runs Girls.
Chronicles of a Runs Girls, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a very important topic to me. We do have, not just in Nigeria, a global problem really with violence against women. And you find that in societies where prostitution is illegal or criminalized, as it were, there's a lot of violence, against sex workers, and it's on a different scale entirely. It's almost like you allow that dark thing in some people. You give them a free pass to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And that's always bothered me.
Describe what Runs Girls is.
Runs Girls, okay, you should read the entire book, Chronicles of a Runs Girl, which has been made into a TV series by a South African movie maker. Runs Girls is an aphorism for prostitution. It's a nice way of saying, prostitute. The difference between a prostitute and a runs girl is that the prostitute stands on the road or hangs out in a bar, whereas the runs girl has boyfriends, a lot of boyfriends. Each one of them is a boyfriend because each one of them has his time with her, takes her out, buys her stuff. So the transaction is not immediate. It's not sex, money.
It's gifts.
No, Yes, and it's over a long period of time, and it's an economic outcome. It's where young boys have turned to fraud or armed robbery. Young girls have turned to prostitution. Some young boys as well. Don't get it wrong. But a lot of young girls have turned to prostitution, and it's very often it's not a matter of greed or lose morals or anything. It's survival. I went to school, and my first degree was in University of Ibadan. I was in school with people who didn't have money from home. Their parents did not give them money from home. They could not afford to give them money from home. They could not afford to pay tuition. Some of the boys ended up doing hard jobs, or joining cults, because the cults also apparently acted as social net support, I think. But a lot of the girls just had boyfriends.
Yeah.
And how can you blame them? Because if they didn't do this, they didn't get to pay for school books, they didn't get to pay for school fees. Worse still, they didn't get to eat.
So coming back to the structure of Runs Girls, it was a kind of serial blog.
Oh yeah.
So how many people read it?
Last time I checked, which was many years ago, it had about 250,000 read-throughs. And it's the most plagiarized piece of writing in Nigeria, I believe, because I wrote it without my name on it. I wrote it on Nigeria's then only satire website, Wazobia Report, which I was responsible for. A lot of people did not know. This is the first time. This is the first time I'm saying this on. So I did it as. I was writing the stories for Wazobia Report weekly, on weekdays mostly, because most of the stories were political satire. So it had to do with stories that were in the news. And then over the weekends, I didn't write anything. And then I noticed on Google Analytics, as you would expect, that readership traffic plummeted. So I thought, well, I've just written this manuscript, which is Easy Motion Tourist. Maybe if I just write something for fun. And then every night, every Sunday night, I would sit down with a bottle of red wine and some blue cheese, and I would write a chapter. Unplanned, unedited, I didn't even go through it. I didn't go back on it.
And it was through that process that you got the offer of a publishing contract?
Yes. So Jeremy Wheat was following me. Jeremy Wheat and his partner Bibi Bakare founded Cassava Republic, and he was following me on Twitter. And I think he had tweeted something written by the resident agony aunt of Cassava Wazobia Report, Auntie Ngozi, who's a mad agony aunt. And so I noticed that, and I'd known about Cassava for quite a while. In fact, someone had suggested that I send my manuscript to Cassava Republic. So I sent him a message and said to him, as Wazobia Report, are you interested in manuscripts? And he said, yes, we are, if you have something. And also, can you introduce us to the author of Chronicles of a Runs Girl and Auntie Ngozi? So I replied saying, I am the author of Chronicles of a Runs Girl, and I am also Auntie Ngozi. and that's how I got the deal with them. That's the story.